In chapter 6, one of our main ideas is going to be learning how to write out electron configurations using sublevels and orbitals. So this video is going to prime us for that skill. So we are going to start talking about sublevels and orbitals so that in our next video we can apply that to our electron configurations. But before we do that, we need to go back to the Bohr model and talk about that real quickly. So we've got our positively charged nucleus with the electrons that exist on the electron shells and they orbit the nucleus. Again, this is a great model for a lot of explanations, but it does have some shortfalls. So our electrons are attracted to the nucleus because electrons are negative and nucleus is positive because of the protons. So you have your Coulomb forces there. So the stronger the nucleus is, the more protons there are in the nucleus, the greater the nuclear charge, so the more attraction there can be with the electrons. But then it's also dependent upon distance. So the closer the electrons are to the nucleus, the stronger the Coulomb forces are and the more that they're attracted to the nucleus. Now, if you think about, you've got something negative attracted to something positive, they should just be attracted to each other, which would cause the atom to collapse. So the reason why that doesn't occur is because the electrons are moving around. So it's that orbit there that keeps them moving around and keeps them from collapsing into the nucleus. There is a certain energy for each shell or each principal energy level. And we did that in the previous video, talked about the energy and wavelength and frequency. So depending upon the light that's being emitted, you could calculate the energy there. So Bohr did this with the hydrogen atom, and this worked perfectly for hydrogen and anything else with one electron. However, it started to fall apart and the energies did not work exactly the way that they should if there was more than one electron. So the Bohr model works for a lot of generalizations, but it does not work perfectly when you have more than one electron. So our next person we want to briefly mention is Heisenberg. So if you've watched Breaking Bad, you will recognize that name. The Heisenberg uncertainty principle is that you cannot simultaneously determine both the position and the momentum of an electron. You can know one, but not the other, or it's more on a sliding scale. The more certain you are about one of those two things, the less certain you would be about the other one. So if you're more certain on the electron's position, you would be less certain on its momentum, or vice versa. So that's a Heisenberg uncertainty principle, is that you basically can't pinpoint its momentum and its location at the same time. Heisenberg's work then led to Schrodinger's work, where he did lots of calculations and solved equations, which led to predictions about where the electron actually can be found in the atom. Then, combined with the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, led to the quantum mechanical model of the atom that we have today. So we know that we have our electron shells. Those were brought about in the Bohr model. Within the shells, there are sublevels, and then within the sublevels, there are orbitals. And the orbitals is where our electrons are located, or where they have a high probability of being located. So they were able to pinpoint their location a little bit more within the shell, but then they talk about there being a high probability of the electron being located there. So they're a 3D model of where the electron is likely to be. And that's how we get to our orbitals. So each electron shell is divided into sublevels. Then the sublevels are composed of orbitals. And that's what we're going to be doing with our electron configurations. Instead of just saying that sodium has an electron configuration of 2, 8, 1, meaning there's 2 electrons in the first shell, 8 electrons in the second shell, and 1 electron in the third shell. We are going to get more specific. We are going to say which shell and which sublevel the electrons are in. And then we'll also talk about how they are arranged within the orbitals too. So the orbital is where we have a high probability of finding our electron. And you may remember that from Regents, you had to know that, but you didn't have to know too much about orbitals. So now we'll learn some more about orbitals other than the fact that that's just where you're likely to find an electron. The shape of an orbital is determined by probability and lots of calculations, and the orbital is where you're 90% likely to find the electron. In tomorrow's video, we're going to get into these sublevels and orbitals a little bit more, but some things to review. The electron shell, that's the principal energy level. So like again, if we have sodium, electron configuration 2, 8, 1. So there'd be 8 electrons in the second energy level. But now we are going to get more specific and we're going to talk about which sublevels the electrons are in. And the sublevels are letters S, P, D, and F. So our S orbital is basically a spherical shape that's centered around the axis. We're going to talk about the X, Y, and Z. Z is the 3-dimensional axis. So S is a round ball. So basic shape, round ball, not too complicated. And S sublevels can hold up to 2 electrons because there is just the 1 orbital. And we'll talk about that more in tomorrow's video. All right, then we have the p orbital. The p orbital is composed of these shapes here on the X, the Y, and the Z axis. So the p sublevel has 3 different orbitals, one centered on the X, one centered on the Y, one centered on the Z axis. So altogether, the p sublevel can hold 6 electrons. The d sublevel, we start to get a little bit complicated here, and the shapes are down here. To be perfectly honest with you, you are going to have to know how many electrons the different sublevels can hold, how many orbitals they're made up of. You don't, for this level, actually really need to know their shapes. And then the F orbital, or the F sublevel, the orbitals within the F sublevel definitely get a little bit complicated. F sublevels will hold up to 14 electrons because they contain 7 orbitals. Again, you need to know now that orbitals are where you're going to have a high probability of finding electrons. And you need to know that the electron shells are composed of sublevels, which are composed of orbitals. If you do not know their shapes, that is fine. In the next video, we are going to talk about how many electrons each orbital and sublevel can hold and how to write the electron configurations.